really sucks when you finish a first draft and realise it's nowhere near the word count that you're supposed to be having. But I have to admit, I'd rather have the problem of adding words than cutting a whole heap of them. And today I'm going to give you some tips to flesh out your story in a meaningful way. Hi, I'm Sandy Vaile from Fearless Prose, and I empower authors to write novels they're proud to share with the world. Now, before you freak out about word count being too high or too low, first you need to check what word count it is you're actually aiming for. You might decide that you just want to write a novella. Maybe that suits your purposes, and then you're only aiming for about 30 to 40,000 words. But if you're writing a novel, then you're usually aiming for 50 to 110,000 words, most commonly around 80,000. But check out submission guidelines for publishers who sell the types of books you're writing, or you could look at books you've already read in your genre. So once you're sure of the word count you're aiming for, then it's a simple matter of working through possible problems and diagnosing which ones are cutting your story off at the knees, so to speak. If your word count's too low, the culprit's usually one of three issues. The first is not having a fully fleshed out main plot, so you're trying to write more of a shiny story idea than an actual workable sequence of events. And to help you solve this problem, you need to burrow down to the core of your story. If you can't articulate what it's about in a couple of sentences, then they're probably not clear enough about who the main character is, what they want, and what their end goal is and why. So something I like to do is to write a list of all the key events that happen throughout the story. And then you can really easily see where the major crises occur and make sure you've got one around sort of a quarter of each quarter of the book. And then looking at that list of events, it also helps you to find opportunities to add more complexity to the plot so that you're making sure your characters are really being forced to face their innermost fears and struggle with their personal beliefs. And the second most common issue is leaving loose threads dangling. So what I mean by this is that for every clue you place or question you raise or subplot the story's got, there's got to be a satisfying conclusion. It can be easy to just accidentally leave things unanswered or forget about your subplots when you're focusing on that main plot. But you don't want to leave readers hanging. And then the third most common issue is rushing through your story. So you're not exploring all the facets of the main character and the main plot deeply enough. So what you end up doing is kind of skimping on the details and skimming over the surface of emotions rather than rolling your sleeves up and getting mucky in all of those lovely emotions and characteristics of the story world. So the easiest thing you can do to resolve this is to elaborate on what you already have. I mean, that's simple. So this doesn't mean throwing in a whole bunch of pointless cups of tea and description just for the hell of it. You want to really unravel your character arc and the key events. So make sure you've got logical steps to get characters from one place to another. Make the most of all that lovely emotional drama by delving into how that point of view character feels about a situation and why they make certain choices. It's really important to make sure you explore their inner struggle fully. You also don't want to rush from event to event, kind of like playing hopscotch. So take your time setting up each crisis, because all of the lovely suspense comes from actually anticipating what's going to happen before the event happens. This is also a perfect time to really examine what makes your characters tick and why they make decisions and react in a certain way. Another area we sometimes skimp on is description. Now, I'm not talking about chucking in, millions of pages of sunsets and wonderful landscapes and stuff, but about giving readers enough description to create vivid images in their minds of that story world. So one of the best pieces of advice I can give you is to put your characters in motion, have them interacting with the setting around them, instead of just standing at the door and, listing a bunch of items they can see. So I hope I've given you some great tips to boost your lagging word count, but if you can't see where you need to elaborate, then maybe it's time to get feedback from a critique partner, an editor, or a fiction coach. And each week I open up a bunch of free storytelling clarity sessions in my diary just to help authors just like you to find out what's holding you back with your story and figure out the next best steps to getting published and finishing that wonderful story. So you'll be able to find the link below and just click on that to book your session. I look forward to chatting you next time about what to do when you've got too many words in your story.